Well, that was good, wasn't it? Once again, we have lost at St James's Park. Despite dominating for large periods of the second half, we failed to capitalise on our possession, um, failed to kind of craft out many high quality opportunities. And as such, as I think many of us thought would or potentially could happen, I mean, it could, of course, always happen. That's what football is. Um, but as what did happen, Newcastle managed to break away and get the winner, um, which is, yeah, right, fine, frustrating, very annoying. I mean, it's not fine, very frustrating, very annoying. Um, and that's that, isn't it? It's another game we've lost at St James's Park. Positives, we didn't get battered at St James's Park. We didn't lose like 4-5-0, 5-1, 6-1, whatever it was. So, things are trending upwards. But yeah, frustrating, very frustrating. We obviously had a few injuries, a few key injuries, but so did Newcastle. Um, and I think that game at St James's Park should be seen as something of a test for us. I was saying in the pre-match preview that, like when we battered Liverpool at Wembley in the early stages of Jurgen Klopp's tenure, they used that as a springboard to come back and go for us, right? They kind of used that as something that they could build upon. And I was hoping that the St James's Park defeats we've had over the past few years could in some way inspire us to, to kick on and to do something, to use that as a springboard, as a statement of intent or whatever, for Spurs. But, we didn't. And that's that. I do think we played all right in patches. But as I've said on X, that has annoyed a few people, because people like to jump on this meme of saying everything that is less than effusive praise for Ange Postecoglou and everything that he does is now just negative and you're part of some problem. It's funny, a lot of people didn't have a problem with criticisms towards Conte or Mourinho when it confirmed their own biases, but when you try to offer an objective view on, and what I do feel is an objective view on this at the moment with Ange Postecoglou, comment on some of the things that I think are less than good about it, and I highlight many of the things that I do think are good about it. People don't like it. You're turning into one of those accounts. Not really at all. Anyway, so I said on there, I don't really feel like our attacking football is exciting or inventive enough to justify this system's defensive negligence. If we're creating bags of high quality opportunities constantly, then that would be the trade off. But it feels like we're forever just plodding around the box or flashing scruffy crosses in. And like one of the examples of this is like, we were told that Solanke is going to come in, and yeah, I know he's been injured, and that's unfortunate for Tottenham, and it's frustrating. But so much of what's highlighted about why we brought in somebody like Solanke is because he harries, he works hard in the final third, and he gets up in the faces of kind of opposition players, and that's not a bad thing. But not much is made of like he'll be able to get on the end of all those high quality opportunities we create. It just, everything feels a bit scruffy. It all feels a bit chaotic at the moment. I don't really feel a lot of cohesion, and I think the thing that concerns me most about this, about what we're seeing at the moment from Spurs and what we're seeing from Ange, is that it's 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 like it's getting worse. It's not improving. I'm not seeing signs of improvement. And some of the responses I've had on Twitter are give it time, don't be so impatient, that sort of standard stuff. But look, at the same time, we're in the Geezer's second season now already. Like, I mean, surely things have got to improve at some point, right? I mean, somebody, even if you just like a manager, right? If you really love him, like surely you must be able to see that they don't just get they don't get an unlimited sort of freedom to do what they want just because you're kind of bought into whatever it is their ethos or their image, or there's just something that you've kind of connected to with them. You know, I loved Pochettino, but even towards the end, I was highly critical of him as well. I see what some of you are thinking. Phil Walker, Newcastle did to us what Leicester should have done 2 weeks ago. It's hard not to feel deflated about Spurs right now when the only win we have after 3 games was against an abysmal Everton. Demonstre says, I can't help but feel Tottenham are, as usual, a team where the quality just isn't there. In players, in attack, in defence, just not quite there. But at least the wage bill is down, eh? Um, Luis says, hi, Jack, I'm fuming with that. Jesus Christ. Stephen King, hello, mate. With more senior players in the team today, i.e., Solanke, we win that game. Missed opportunity in the window to bring in a player for now, not tomorrow. Still not all bad. We were not battered. I mean, look, I guess we can speculate that we might have won with Solanke in there, but I don't know. You know, who knows? The fact of the matter is, we lost today. And this is kind of part of the problem, isn't it? The fact that, like you say, we didn't add more players into the squad. We haven't added more players who are capable of coming in to cover us. We're told that it was a good window, that we've improved the squad, but as we've seen already now with a few injuries, so 2 injuries to our forward line players, Richarlison, which isn't unlucky. We could have preempted that. The guy's always injured. Solanke, yep, that's obviously frustrating. And Van de Ven out. I mean, the thing is, Dragusin I thought was all right today. It was Romero who was more the problem defensively. So, maybe we do have cover for Van de Ven. But what I'm saying is, a couple of injuries, and we already feel short. We already look short. But again, it's negative to talk about that, isn't it? It's negative to say that a billionaire sporting like investment company should spend a bit more money on a team when it's asking its fan base to year on year shell out more and more money on tickets, on merchandise, on all of the trappings of following a football team. But and let's bear in mind, I believe it's the most expensive tickets in the world now in world football, at least in the Premier League. It's one of those that's up there. You charge more to go and watch Tottenham than you are to watch Manchester City or Chelsea or Arsenal. I think it's about the same as Arsenal, to be honest. It's Real Madrid or Barcelona, probably, right? But yet we all attack one another. People like to attack other fans for complaining about things like ticket prices and stuff. You're a negative fan. You're this. You're the problem. And they don't really realize they're caping for these billionaires that run the club, that consistently hike the prices up of everything associated with the club, and yet aren't interested really in competing to win stuff. They're more than happy to just kind of plod along and keep Spurs a decent enough side that are in the kind of conversation for the top honours, and that will mean that people are interested enough and will keep filling up the stadium and will keep buying all the merch like I did, like a mug. You know what I mean? Like it's a picture of me and a thumbnail from the other week holding up my new Tottenham jumper because I loved it, and I do. It's class, it's quality. And it's fun having those things, isn't it? But it's just frustrating. That's the thing that annoys me about this most, the hypocrisy of all of this. That you can kind of be judged by other fans and attacked by other fans for having an opinion about the way a billionaire operates, who's running a team. Like it's mad. It's madness to me. It doesn't make sense. But whatever you want to do. Luis F says passing the ball is zero threat, not scoring to save our lives, and being massively under threat every time we lose the ball is not dominating the game. It's not good. Beat plate, cheers to the debrief, Jack. Same story every season since Pochettino. Win big after a setback and immediately lose or draw the next game. It's deflating. Brian Park, is it a mad take to think that Ange ball isn't all that exciting? Constant dilly dallying around the box, over reliance on low cutbacks, and every time there's a break, other way, we're outnumbered. I'm coming around to that way of thinking, mate. I'm not going to lie. Quasi says there's a lot of questions to be asked of Ange at this stage. I'm starting to doubt him myself. Um, I don't know. It's tough, isn't it? Twisted complex. We can't be showing a soft underbelly and losing so early in the season, like that in our first real test. Demonstre says a genuine question for the give it time crowd. Do you genuinely think we were better today than we were this time last year? Yep. Zeros and ones. I think I know who that is. Feeling a bit AVB second season. It is, isn't it? Somebody else said that to me. I think it was Tom Foynes. It is feeling a bit AVB, mate. It is. It's kind of because the thing is, the thing about this is that's frustrating about this is that, and you can choose to believe this or not. People can choose to believe whatever they want, but I actually do like Ange. I actually do like what what he wants to do, like what his ethos is. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he carries himself to most of the time anyway. And I like the idea that we're going to, play attacking football, that it's the Tottenham way, that we're not going to sit back and wait for the opposition to die of boredom, as the famous quote goes. And I really want that to work. And I really wanted that to work with AVB. That's the thing. I loved AVB as well. But I can't, I honestly, I cannot in good faith sit here and watch that and say, I think it's good. We just need to, just let it kind of fall into place. And because it felt like, it felt like really Ange's method, Ange's kind of way of playing, what he was trying to, get across to the players really did. They grabbed hold of it immediately last season. We were flying. We looked amazing. And then other teams started to kind of study us, look at what we were doing, because we were no longer, halfway into a season, you're no longer a kind of a new proposition, right? It's not suddenly like this new, this Aussie manager who's come from Celtic, who's done wonders up there. Wonder if it'll work at Spurs. Oh God, it seems to be. Wow, this is amazing. Right, we better take these lots seriously. It's the old meme, isn't it, of when you're playing FIFA, sat back and then you sit up for the second half kind of thing. When they started to do that to us, and people were starting to give us more of a game, and people had more kind of, to use those sort of football cliches, when they had more answers to the questions we were posing, it felt like we just ran out of ideas. And it feels like we're still in a continual cycle of that. I'm not really seeing much different now than we saw at the tail end of last season when we were terrible. Um, I mean, I just, just an interesting fact for you here. I just want to say this again. We've won two games away since December. Since December 2023, we've won two away games. One of those was to an already relegated, I think, Sheffield United. I mean, that is a problem. That's a problem. And the fact we're seemingly not improving on that is a problem. And I don't think it's in good faith, and I don't think it's fair to say that anybody that can see this, or wants to accept this, is just being like negative. Like I'm not sat here like calling like get rid of him, get Ange out. This is ridiculous. This is all awful. I mean, I'm not doing it. I'm not screaming and shouting. I'm not doing one of these kind of you know things that people do to get a bit of attention. Because that's another thing that's always kind of chucked at me. You're just turning this way for attention. You're turning this way to get more clicks. And well, look, I record in a back room with a pot plant and stuff. Like if I was really doing this to drum up to become some sort of like football attention seeking influencer, I get the neon light in the background and a Tottenham scarf and all that type of crap. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Just there's so much of this stuff is just disingenuous. So much of this is disingenuous, and that's a crap result today. It's really annoying because we played all right for a little bit, didn't we? And then we just stopped playing well, and it's really annoying. Liam Wilson says, Jack, I just don't understand the transfer window policy. Look at today, this style of football, it actually requires some experience. All we bought are kids. We need calm heads. Yeah. Um, Spurs FFS says, bored of the same old story. FFS. Um, Hacker BLCPS says, no promising future at the club. We're levied. Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know because there's still, I don't know. There's still always hope for teams. Like there's still always hope that there's going to be that window. There's going to be that opportunity, that Leicester year, and I think also like I think we can turn this on ourselves, but also look at Manchester City. Like just look at them. They're ridiculous, and maybe when Guardiola goes, things will be different. But probably when Guardiola goes, Chelsea will just suddenly click, and that continues. And this is why, because I get frustrated with Levy, I get frustrated with the lack of ambition or whatever. But the thing is, honestly, the main thing about this that irritates me, it's not even this. People will try and chalk this off as like some sort of sense of entitlement. This sense that you are just getting frustrated because you feel entitled to win something. Tottenham have to win the league, or Tottenham have to win trophies and all this type of stuff. That'd be lovely, be absolutely lovely. But you know, I was born in 1985, so I can pretty much when's your recallable memory from when you're 10, 11 years old. So imagine I remember Spurs fully properly from 95, 96 onwards. In that entire time, I've seen us win the League Cup twice. And for a large chunk of that time, we were an abject team that were basically flirting with being bottom half of mid table to flirting with getting relegated a few times from the Premier League. We were not a very good side. So I've not grown up as a glory hunter. I've not grown up seeing this team that I think are going to win stuff all the time and whatever. And the thing is, I love the idea of having a project. I spoke to Spooky the other day on one of the Patreon pods, patreon.com/RTR pod. And we were talking about that. And he was saying, what I do like about, at least with the way in which we operate as a club, is it allows us to get a bit of an attachment to some of these players. It allows us to feel like they're playing for something. When you look at Chelsea, when you look at Manchester United of a few years ago, and it was all just like random player after random player, and uh, there's nothing really to connect with. There's no real idea there. There's no real vision. We've got that at Spurs now. We are starting to get that, and I like that. I really like that about the team, and that does fill me with hope. It fills me with hope, at least, that it's a team that I can get behind, and I can fall in love with it, and I can enjoy the ups and the downs with. And if we win something out the end of that, that's fantastic. That's great. The thing that makes me particularly angry about all this, and I do throw back to this once again, because I do want to make this point abundantly clear. The thing that frustrates me most of all is the in terms of the way we operate, is the hypocrisy behind all of this. Is the fact that we literally charge super club prices, yet are operating in the same way as a team like Brighton does. That we're operating with smart transfers, that we're operating with building a potential plan for the future. There's no guarantee. Like people can say, oh, Bival and Gray and Mikey Moore, all of these players will be world beaters in 5 years. You can't say that. We don't know that for certain. They might well be, and let's hope that they are. Absolutely amazing if they are. But there's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee that Man City's own kind of, wealth of amazing young players, or Arsenal, or anyone else in the league. There's no, it's not a guarantee on success at all. And but again, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm just saying that back in terms of when this stuff, in 4 or 5 years' time, that's what we're aiming at. Cool, but stop charging super club prices for everything now. Like, stop doing interviews with publications like Bloomberg and everything like that and pleading poverty when you're a billionaire and when the investment company that you work for and part own that owns this football club are billionaires. When that entity continues to leverage the fan base, leverage the image, leverage the location of our football club to secure itself larger and larger loans, to build things like hotels, to do things like expanding stadiums where they build food halls and microbreweries and all this type of thing, which, lest we forget as well, we were told when they first built all this stuff, right, that they were going to keep match day pints and food and all that stuff affordable. That lasted for about a season, maybe a season and a half, perhaps, right? And now it's just as expensive as anywhere else in London. Like, it's just mad. It's just mental. It's absolutely mental. And yet we're still here tearing strips out of one another because we're unhappy with the fact that, you know, people pay. I don't pay it. I don't pay anymore. And I still don't out of principle. I don't out of principle anymore. I said this a couple of years ago when they kept amping the ticket prices up and weren't spending money in the transfer window. I'm not putting my money into that. I'm not doing that. And if you choose to do that, you can call me an armchair and do all that stuff. I don't care. Heard it all before, but that's the decision I've made. Sooner or later, you have to say, I'm not going to pay for these tickets anymore. I'm not going to these games because I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the way that the fan loyalty is exploited constantly. And this is my issue with it. This is my issue with it at the end of the day. Tottenham, I wouldn't be, it would be sad if I get to, if I have a decent innings and I live to 80, 85 years old, whatever, and I don't see Tottenham win another thing, fine. But I'll always support them. I'm always going to be there supporting them. They'll always be in my heart and I'll always love them because that's what it is. So it's nothing to do with, like, if we don't win something, we're not gonna, I'm not gonna carry on with this. That's fine. If it'd be lovely if we signed kind of some top players and always Nico Williams and all that type of thing. Fantastic, great. That would be very exciting. But we haven't done. We're all still supporting them, aren't we? We can have a moan about it, but we're still supporting them. But the the problem, yeah, we just come back to this place, don't we? We continue to come back to this place where it's always just dangled there. This golden carrot is just dangled there for us. In a few years' time, keep kind of bulking up the club's coffers because in a few years' time, we're going to be a great team. We'll be a good team. I've fucking heard that for 15 years now. Do you know what I mean? Since the time of Martin Yole. Oh, we'll add a couple more players, maybe. Oh, we can't do it right now. And then when with Harry Redknapp's here, oh, we'll add a couple more players, but oh no, we can't. But in a few years' time, we'll be good. And then Pochettino's era comes. Oh, we can't add. I mean, if we had a few more players to add, we would, but we can't do that right now because reasons. And then it's the same fucking thing again now. It's the same thing again now. So do you know what I mean? We go into a season with a half fit squad. We go over relying on the same players again who who are breakdown, and we don't have adequate quality or cover for them. And whatever, we can nod along with that, and that's fine, and that's what we will do. And we've got an international break coming up, and we've got the North London derby after that, and hopefully we sharpen that. We can do something against Arsenal. And anybody that's watching this thinking, what's he going on about, why is he becoming such a whinge bag, can come on and say, gutted, we beat Arsenal. And I assure you, I'll be so upset about that. I'll really, like, the worst thing will be that if after an Arsenal game that we've won, I'm being told, remember how you had a moan after the Newcastle game because, Daniel Levy, a billionaire, Enoch, a billionaire sports investment company, didn't, didn't spend in relation to what they expect from fans. Wow, yeah, joke will be on me there. Joke will be on me. I don't know. I don't know. That was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Asumi says this is really helping me process what I've just witnessed. Well, thank you, mate. Um, you know, hopefully. Desist Wild says Madison was lazy defensively on both goals conceded, and that Bentancur appearance was a disaster. Um, yeah. Spurs FFS says, could it be that Ange Ball worked in leagues where opposition weren't able to counter his methods? The league he's managed didn't even have the caliber of managers, just players to stop him. Yeah, potentially. Do you know what I mean? These are all, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Um, Maybe his stuff would work more if he had better players available to him as well, or at least more, you know, experienced players. This was what we've always said. Um, Big Mike says, "You're right. It's been the same story since Martin Joel for real." Um, Zeros and ones. Would you take Levy with different ownership or Enoch Stats and Levy is replaced? Um, I sort of think on Enoch and Levy really are the same thing, aren't they? Now, really. I mean, for all kind of intents and purpose, he is Enoch, isn't he? And I just, I'll be honest. It's this. This sounds a bit like just roll the dice. Brexit means Brexit, but I think now I'm just at this point with like Spurs with the where I kind of where I just kind of feel that really honestly speaking, we're never going to be a serious team. We're never going to be a proper serious club, a proper serious outfit. Um, until we have new ownership, like completely new ownership. But we know what it is. We know that Levy, it appears anyway, at least from what we've heard, is that Levy's ego won't allow him to step aside. I mean, and, it's not just his ego. He's put a lot of his, on a human level, I can see he's put his life into this. This is his life's work, this club now. And he doesn't want to step aside and then see 2, 3 years after that, Spurs win the Premier League. That's clearly, that is genuinely, let's be real, that is clearly what is bugging him. That's clearly the thing that's there. It's like, this, my way of doing things, this method, it can work and it will work, and I'll show them all. And I just don't think it can. I just don't think it's realistic. But, the flip side of this is, a new owner doesn't guarantee us to do that either. It is a roll of the dice. A new owner can come in and things become a real mess. There's plenty of examples of clubs down the years who have brought in a new owner thinking that it's going to open up the door to, there's let's be honest, there's more West Ham Uniteds than there are Manchester Cities, Um, and I mean, West Ham are doing all right, to be fair. I mean, they won a European trophy a couple of years ago, but you know what I mean? Like, they've had various different takeovers or buyouts and this and that. Got their new stadium, and they're always kind of on this idea that there's going to be something there. Manchester City is such a rare case. Look at PSG are another example. Then PSG are another example of a club that, whatever, I mean, they don't even dominate France, to be honest. They don't even dominate France. Still not won a Champions League. Mess of a club, shambles. So a new owner doesn't guarantee anything. I'm not saying that let's get rid of Levy, let's get rid of Enoch, and everything will be all right. But it's a roll of the dice, isn't it? It's something different. It's a gamble. I know it's a complete gamble. But it just feels. I think part of the frustration of this is, see, the problem is, a lot of people, I guess, because obviously it's the internet. Everyone's at differing ages. Other people are coming to the sort of the Tottenham ride at different points, and so I know that, for example, when I remember, okay, so here's a perfect example of this. I remember perfectly when I was really kind of bought into Martin Yole, and I was loving him. Lots of people were loving him. I'm not saying I was, but people generationally were loving Martin Yole, and I do remember there would be like an era of Spurs fans a bit older than me who would be like, "This is good, but we're still not winning stuff." In the 80s, we were winning European trophies and FA Cups and all this type of thing. I sort of, this incredible Tottenham team in the 80s that, I wasn't here to witness, that is often held up as a benchmark of like the greatest Tottenham team since the double winning team. and maybe the sort of the Pochettino one after that is the next one that could really sort of lay claim to being the heirs to that sort of 1980s team that was said to be so good. And so I remember being really behind Martignol, really excited, and bickering away with like people on old message boards and stuff like that, because I was all excited and I was saying, give this a chance. I love, this thing. And they'd be like, meh, we're still not really doing anything. And there's these issues. So I get it. I kind of get why, like, if people really want to get into this sort of like this Ange stuff and they just hear me sort of wittering about this after games like this, they think, oh, why is this guy moaning? I want to try and enjoy this and I want to try and look forward to the positives and stuff. And it doesn't mean that I don't want that. Like, I do want that. And I do have a sort of a faint glimmer of hope. And I always do. I always do with Spurs and just with life in general. I've always got that sort of the green shoots of optimism somewhere. But the thing that I can't get around is the fact that we still have Enoch and Levy in charge of the club, who, as I've said to death on here, have done a good job. They've done a grand job to transform Tottenham from what they were in the 90s, that team I was talking about just a minute ago in the mid 90s, to the team that we see today, to this sort of aspirational super club. Fantastic. But now that we are here, now that we are trying to, sat down at the top table, we've tucked our napkin into our collar, knife and fork in hand, and we want to eat now. We want to get ready and dive in. And they still don't want to pay the prices for sirloin steak. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. They want to go home and see what's on the Tesco reduced aisle on the way home. And that's just what we are. And it's hard to really get behind this, because you can just see these same patterns, the same excuses, the same type of like dialogue that's wheeled out constantly. And I imagine that's why, a lot of, players who used to play for us. I don't know if you saw Stephen Carr was just talking about it not too long ago. Stephen Carr was talking about Tottenham and how much he loved Tottenham. And I had real resentment for Stephen Carr when he left Spurs. When he left us, he said something about like, he wanted to go and win trophies with Newcastle and never won anything there. And I was always very about him. But I read an interview of him lately, and he was sort of saying, it was really hard for him to leave Spurs. He'd been there since he was a boy. He had a lot of affection for the club. He loved the club. And he just said he never felt valued there. He never felt valued there because he was part of the furniture. He turned from, an academy prospect into one of our best players. And because of that, he was never properly valued. He never really felt like, the club really made an effort to show him that they wanted to keep him there. And so when it came to his contract running out, he was like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else. And we hear these stories of like Harry Kane when he's leaving. Harry Kane, one of the club's greatest ever players, our greatest ever goal scorer, brought us so many brilliant memories. And I know whatever, it ended slightly acrimoniously, and we can talk about him going on golf courses with Gary Neville and all this sort of stuff. We locked him out of the football club, We locked him out. We didn't let him say goodbye to anybody. It's just bizarre. It's a bizarre way we operate, and I just don't like it. Do you know what I mean? I don't like the way we sort of we do this type of stuff. But it is what it is, isn't it? Let's have a look. And Ange out says 65-year process. We lose nothing getting Levy out. Maybe. Edward Prislucky. Apologies if I've mispronounced the name, Edward. I love the reaction vids. How far you've come since the day of Raj ripping City fans, Sion Borley, and broken chairs. I know, mate. It feels like another lifetime ago, doesn't it? Now, I beg Raj to come on, but he's not allowed to anymore. That's the problem. I bet, and I do beg. I say that literally. But he wants to, and he loves it, and he's still got a lot of love for everybody and all that sort of thing. But he just did his work. He can't do it anymore. But Edward says, I'm still optimistic about the season. If only we only have 4 points from the first 4 matches, maybe. It's interesting, isn't it? Bell Blake says, when Brennan missed that chance, I got the feeling it was one miss too much and the game would turn. They scored 2 minutes later, sliding doors, we go again. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, that Brennan sort of has these little moments because I thought his performance when he came on, he was really, really good. He was one of the really bright lights. I thought it was a fantastic cameo for him. As is the funny thing is with him at the moment, at least anyway, it's often the case that he is much better as a substitute. And I don't mean that as a dig at him. I just noticed that maybe there's less pressure on him or whatever. I don't know, but I thought he was really good. And yeah, he did miss that sitter, and that was annoying because he made the angle for himself really nicely as well. Um, I don't know. Um, who knows? I assume he says build for the future and make a statement signing to at least get fans excited somewhat and show some kind of ambition. It's not difficult. And yeah, I agree with that, mate. Even like, far worse and far poorer Tottenham teams than this have always been able to pull out a statement signing here or there down the years. Um, and maybe that is partly on Ange. We hear a bit about Ange and his methods and how he wants to grow a team. He wants to create superstars and stuff. So, you know, I guess that is a consideration, but I don't know. I don't, but it's funny because there's a lot. I've brought up Nico Williams a lot. I brought him up a lot this summer, and all this type of thing. There seems to be a lot of people who are just like, just don't delude yourself. Nico Williams doesn't pick up the phone to Tottenham. I don't know if I agree with that though. And that's the funny thing is, it's like, call me negative all you want, but I don't feel that way. I feel that Tottenham is an incredible proposition for any amazing young player to come and join. Like to be one of the players that is immortalized, to help Tottenham turn a corner, to play in London at this massive stadium. That you'll still be able to get your move to Madrid or whatever in a few years after that. But a decent stepping stone to build more of a kind of global profile for yourself. And I know this is grim, but this is the way football is, isn't it? Tottenham's a perfect club to do that at. There's countless examples of young players who have done that. Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Harry Kane, Christian Eriksen, Kyle Walker. List goes on. But Dimitar Berbatov, another. There's plenty of players who do that. So, I mean, somebody like a Williams, I just feel like it would have given everything a bit more of a lift. There's a sense of continuity from last season to this that is troubling because the end of last year was so poor, and we seem to have a bit of continuity on that front, don't we? But look, I mean, I'm sort of starting to go around in circles a bit now. So, um, I'll do the players. Let's have a look. So Vicario, I thought looked a little bit shaky today, actually. The first sort of shaky performance I think I've seen from him in quite some time. Um, but I think the defense was pretty chaotic in front of him. So take from that. Pedro Porro I thought was good. Pedro Porro I thought was pretty decent today. I think defensively again a little bit shaky. I want to say he sort of lost his man a couple of times and stuff like that. But going forwards, he was always a threat. Radu Dragusin, I thought was very good today. Actually, I thought he was decent. I usually sort of worry about him being a bit shaky, but I thought he was grand. Christian Romero, people don't like it when I criticize Christian Romero, but I think he was not very good at all today. I think he was arguably at fault for both goals. I don't think he added any calm to the defense. He's supposed to be a vice captain. He's supposed to be a senior player in the team. He's a World Cup winner. I don't think he added much calm to the proceedings. And I think it's a kind of consistent issue with him. I just kind of feel with Romero, I don't quite see the same player that many other people see, which is this unbelievably world class, we could never replace him defender. I kind of see a guy who's very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away from that. Brilliant, brilliant talent. Very, very good. But still, somebody when we're talking about getting offered 80 to 100 mil from Real Madrid, I don't I don't wince at the idea of that. I don't feel like, well, we'd never be able to replace him. And that's just kind of how I feel about him. And I've not just said that. It's not just knee jerk off the back of today. The receipts are all there. I've sort of said this of Romero on several occasions, many occasions in the past, and that's kind of how I feel. Destiny Doggy, not his best performance again today, I didn't think, actually. I had a comment further up today. I can't remember who it was. Somebody said that they felt that Destiny Doggy's overrated. I don't. I mean, and I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far, but I just don't think he was very good today. Pape Matasar, yeah, it was. How much I love him, but he probably didn't give us that much control today. I think he struggled a bit in the midfield today. We never really seemed to get much control or much kind of semblance of control or a foothold in the game in the first half, especially. And I think it was probably partly down to him. I think, I quite like he had one pot shot from outside the box, which was really nice, but then kept on trying several others. And, it just wasn't really happening for him today, I don't think. Yves Basuma, I actually thought was pretty decent today, I will say. Bruno Guimaraes is one of the best players in that sort of position in the Premier League, probably in Europe, probably in world football, I would say. So coming up against him is never going to be easy. But I think Basuma did all right. I thought he was good today. Yeah, good performance. I really liked him. So you know, that's kind of how I feel about that one. James Maddison, I don't know. He's he's had a couple of assists already this season, so it feels sort of mad to kind of single him out. But I just don't. I'm just not that convinced he's that good. I don't think his awareness, I don't think his positioning's particularly that grand. I think he's very good as a reactive player. I think his reflex actions are pretty good sometimes, like the sort of pot shots. He had that pot shot, didn't he? I think in the first or early second half. And I was thinking to myself, I can't remember at least him really doing that in a Tottenham shirt. Sort of thing he used to do at Leicester, where he just sort of rifle off a shot out of nowhere. Felt like instinctive, and it feels like that's where Madison's at his best. But maybe in a system where there's a few more intricacies to it or something, whatever it is that Ange is trying to do with this kind of these patterns of play and stuff in and around and outside the box. I just don't feel like it's interfacing well with James Maddison, because I kind of, do you know what the funny thing is? There were a couple of times today, right? There were a couple of times today when I looked at him on the pitch and I just thought, you're just sort of in the way, lad. You're kind of in the way. You're not really adding much value, and you're actually sort of blocking channels for other people to make passes or something through. Yeah, I didn't love his performance today, and I don't love him overall. You know, Odobert, I thought was really good, really promising. Yeah, I mean, look, there's flashes where you see he's got some development to do, but we knew that, didn't we? Know that we weren't signing signing the finished article. 19-year-old lad from Burnley, less time and patience, but he looks like an exciting player. I was encouraged by a lot of what I saw from him today. Son Heung-min, I mean, it's hard to even say what Sonny, really did today, because there was no real cut through in that sort of final third of the game of the pitch, was there? Sonny just kind of felt a bit marooned and was just sort of, trying his best to sort of make something happen, but nothing was really happening, was it? So is what it is, isn't it? Kulusevski as well, similar to Sonny, I think, tried hard, tried his best, tried to make something from whatever we did have in that final third, but there was just nothing really coming from it, was there? Berval not really, didn't really have time to impose himself on the game. Game was sort of slipping from our grasp at that point. Timo Werner, similar. Timo Werner must be wondering, must be asking himself like why he bothered signing up at Tottenham, to be honest, as well. At this point, I would say. Brennan Johnson, I thought very good, really good cameo, really, really good, really exciting. Much more of that. Felt more confident, felt more composed until it came to him, scoring a goal. But I thought he was really good for most of his cameo when he came on today. Rodrigo Bentancur, you know, whatever. So I don't know. It's a funny one today. It's a funny one, and I think it's one that I'm going to try my best. I've been really, really busy lately, and I might be too busy this week to do one. But I'm going to try my best to do like a weekday pod where I get someone else on and speak to someone else about a lot of this, because do you know what I mean, need a bit more balance. Need to let the dust settle on this. Maybe I'll try do one around sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that. Let the dust settle a bit, because it feels like quite a raw one. I'm sort of dipping into Twitter a little bit here, there, and lots of people aren't particularly happy or anything like that. So it's we'll see. That's that really. Thanks everybody for tuning in, for listening, for watching. Please leave a like, a rating, a review, dependent on wherever you're watching or listening to this. Share it, all that type of stuff. Come onto the Patreon. I've done a Patreon pod this week with Spooky, talking about the transfer window, talking about sort of Tottenham going forwards. You can sign up to the Patreon, patreon.com/RTRpod. And if you sign up, you can get a 7-day free trial. You don't even have to pay at the end of it if you don't want to. So just come on, see what you think of the content that I put on there, and listen to those pods and stuff like that. But yeah, whatever. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Let's watch Liverpool versus Manchester United. Come on, you Spurs. Much love.